Christian folk away from the church and into an abyss of eternal torture. While Scooby-Doo, He-Man, the Smurfs, and the music of Queen were all frowned upon as being latent tools of the devil, the foulest trick employed by Satan himself was the seemingly innocent celebration of Halloween. I was told that Satan used that day to mock Christ, to be exalted and celebrated before the advent of the King of Kings in his late December holiday. To those in the budding evangelical movement, Halloween was a day in which wealthy moguls venerated and welcomed the Dark Lord in exchange for profits on candy sales. Witches would look for children to sacrifice and would drink of the fat of the recently deceased. It was a day when devil worshippers would gather in dark robes to poison chocolate and listen to heavy metal. Of all the days in the year, Halloween was the one I feared the most. While other children donned homemade costumes or dressed as their favorite superhero and went door to door collecting candy, my siblings and I were huddled in the dark, listening to a well-worn cassette recording of Turmoil in the Toy Box. My parents, as kind and loving as they were, made certain that on that day the drapes were closed tightly, and the porch light was sensibly off to detour any wayward trick-or-treaters who may inadvertently spread the message of Satan. Not that we would have had any visitors anyway on that evening because we lived in the woods a mile from town, but it was a risk my parents would rather not have taken. Though I grew up in a household where Halloween and the Care Bears were seen as evil, the Addams family was not restricted. As a boy, my parents would take me to their doctor's appointments, where I would scour the New Yorker pages looking for Charles Addams cartoons, which always made me question not only how things work, but how they could work. By 1989, I was addicted, nay, obsessed, with the 1960s reruns of the television show depicting the family that bore the Addams name. When the 1991 film came out on video, to the chagrin of my parents, I would beg to stay home from church and watch it on TV, regardless of how many times I had seen it. I admired that the Addamses were bold enough to be different, that even though the world did not understand them, they were happy being themselves. To this day, one of my favorite scenes is when Gomez sits watching daytime television. On screen is Sally Jessy Raphael, aping both her own show and the now infamous Geraldo Rivera and his exposé on Satanism. You claim your son was kidnapped by voodoo witch doctors and forced to recruit others. Let's take a call. The camera turns to Addams, who, with excited eyes and a devious smile, says, "Hello, Sally." She abruptly cuts him off, saying, "Mr. Addams, please stop calling. We do not know where they meet." The year 1991 was too close to the terror of the satanic panic and the misinformation spread by the aforementioned Geraldo Rivera to have a film's lead be too closely aligned with Satan. At the time, it was understood that when the word voodoo was used, it meant in league with the devil. Though often conflated in media, voodoo and Satanism are not the same thing, but both are othered. After over 30 years, The Addams Family still stands as a satanic film. So many Satanists see themselves in The Addams Family and pattern their lives to look much like the famed family of ghouls. In the 2019 animated rendition, all the Addams cousins gather in the mansion. In a final scene, a bald man sporting a goatee and horns walks in and greets Gomez, a direct reference to Anton Szandor LaVey, founder of the Church of Satan. Though there is no mention of the Addams family in this book, I felt it was appropriate here. One of the most enduring traits of those little New Yorker cartoons, the television shows, and the many films they inspired was how accepting and welcoming of the outsider they were, regardless of what society may have had to say about it. This book challenges you to be the outsider, to welcome the outsider, to understand the outsider. In this book, you will find magic that can be adopted into your own life and adapted to suit your own magical practices. Whether you are a follower of the left hand